Madam Clerk, zooming in,
Yes, Mayor.
can you hear us and see us?
I can see you and I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Clear as a bell. Thank you. I'm glad we can make contact.
Yes,
Um,
sir.
Can you check and see if we're streaming live yet
Certainly.
or put in a good word to make it happen?
Mayor, you are live.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you. I am calling to order this regular meeting of the governing body on April 10th at approximately 5:07 p.m. We will begin with the Pledge of Allegiance led by Councilor Michael Garcia, salute to the New Mexico flag led by Councilor Faulkner, and then invocation and remembrances led by Councilor Cassett. Please rise.
Good evening, everybody. Last week was Public Health Week, and obviously as a public health professional, I wanted to recognize that when I first ran, I ran on the platform that all policy is health policy. And really that idea is that as we do our work, what we're really thinking about is the quality of life of our community and how are we improving their health? How are we improving their well-being? How are we ensuring this is a community where everybody can thrive? So I wanted to read the WHO's definition of health. Health is a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, and not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. The enjoyment of the highest attainable standard of health is one of the fundamental rights of every human being without distinction of race, religion, political belief, economic, or social condition. The health of all peoples is fundamental to the attainment of peace and security and is dependent on the fullest cooperation of individuals and states. The achievement of any state in the promotion and protection of health is of value to all. Unequal development in different countries in the promotion of health and control of diseases, especially communicable diseases, is a common danger. Healthy development of the child is of basic importance. The ability to live harmoniously in a changing total environment is essential to such development. The extension to all peoples of the benefits of medical, psychological, and related knowledge is essential to the fullest attainment of health. Informed opinion and active cooperation on the part of the public are of the utmost importance in the improvement of the health of the people. Governments have a responsibility for the health of their peoples, which can be fulfilled only by the provision of adequate health and social measures. And these are just some things that I really do think about, and I want us to keep in mind as we move forward with our work tonight and ongoing about how we can create this this opportunity for health for every member of our community and those that we come in contact with. Pass it on to you, Mayor.
Thank you, Counselor. Are there folks that anyone would like to remember at this time? Go ahead, Counselor.
I just wanted to wish two individuals very special to me a happy heavenly birthday, which is my grandmother, Teresita Martinez, and my cousin Eli Valdez.
Thank you. Others? I would just build on what Councilor Cassett said and call to mind those in our community and elsewhere who are suffering from ill health, who don't have shelter or food, or emotional support. Please, let's take them into our hearts as a city and as a community and remember that they are part of our community and we are our brother's keeper. Let's take a minute to think about those who need our help and our support. Thanks, everybody. Madam Clerk, in the Zoom room, can you please call the roll?
Certainly, Mr. Mayor. Councilor Cassett,
Here.
Councilor Castro,
Present.
Councilor Chavez,
Here.
Councilor Faulkner,
Here.
Councilor Lee Garcia,
Here.
Councilor Michael Garcia,
Present.
Councilor Lindell,
Here.
Counselor Romero Worth,
Here.
Mayor Weber,
Present.
Mayor, you have a quorum.
Thank you. And Madam Clerk, are there any changes to the agenda as it's been published?
No, sir.
Very good. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda then?
Motion to approve.
All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. And Madam Clerk, are there any changes to the consent agenda?
Yes, Mayor. Item 9O has been pulled by Counselor Lee Garcia and Counselor Michael Garcia and by staff as well.
Let me mark that, please. Any others?
No, Mayor.
Very good. Can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda as amended?
So moved.
Second.
Is there discussion? Madam Clerk, can you call the roll on the motion?
Certainly, Mayor. Counselor Cassett,
Yes.
Counselor Castro, Counselor Castro,
Yes.
Counselor Chavez,
Yes.
Counselor Faulkner,
Yes.
Counselor Lee Garcia,
Yes.
Counselor Michael Garcia,
Yes.
Counselor Lindell,
Yes.
Counselor Romero Worth,
Yes.
Mayor Weber,
Yes,
motion passed.
thank you. If you could then take us to the next item on the agenda, please, Madam Clerk.
Certainly, Mayor. The next item is 8, presentations. 8A is an audit update, and Finance Director Emily Oster is here to present.
Director, nice to see you.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and councilors. Thank you for the opportunity to present to you this evening on the status of our audit. Our FY '23 audit is underway and things are going well. We are regularly meeting with our consultants from Clifton Larson Allen and our auditors from Carr Riggs Ingram. The most recent meeting with the whole group was yesterday. Audit work is progressing. We received a list of additional questions and requests from Carr Riggs last night. The team has been working through those today, as well as closing out other open items. And the team reports that we're starting to do wrap up and review, which is where I would expect us to be at this stage with about a month to go. We are on track to submit the audit by May 15th, which was our goal. And in regards to our audit findings, I wanted to report to you that we are making progress on our corrective action. We participated, staff from the finance department participated in Munis training on Monday for 8 hours on the cash management and revenue functionality in the Munis system. So that was really informative and very helpful as we move towards implementing additional functionality in the system. And then we did grants management training today for 4 hours with Clifton Larson Allen. And we had over 50 city staff on that grants management training. So very exciting. With that, Mayor, I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Director. Are there questions for Director Oster? Very good. Thank you. Keep the progress coming. We're very grateful to you. Next item, Madam Clerk.
The next item, Mayor, is item 9O. It's a request for approval of a professional services contract with its Quest Staffing in the amount of $264,463.70 for project manager and scheduler services in response to the Environmental Protection Agency and New Mexico Environment Department requirements that the city eliminate or mitigate violations identified by the Environmental Protection Agency. I believe Wastewater Management Division Director Michael Dozier is here for questions.
Move to approve.
There's a motion and a second to approve. It's been pulled from consent, but perhaps you can, before we get into questions from council members, for people who are watching or listening and are not familiar with this item, you could give us a summary of what it is intending to do, please.
Mr. Mayor, councilors of the governing body, this is for this is for the work that is going to be done through our emergency procurement that we have 8 or 7 contractors, including this one, to be working at the facility to correct some issues we've had with our facility and remediate administrative orders that have been given by the EPA. Now, this position, this is actually a temporary position that is pulled in so that they are, the person that is hired will be managing the project, scheduling the other 7 contractors, and overseeing the day-to-day movement of whatever has to be done during the work that is being held at the plant.
Okay. Director Dupuy, is there anything you want to add to that?
Mr. Mayor, I'm here ultimately to help Mr. Dozier, support him however possible, answer any questions that come up. And this is one of the items in our 10-point plan. Specifically, number 10 has project management and scheduling support. It's a critical component that ultimately Division Director Dozier and I have had to take on ourselves in getting it off the ground, but ultimately need to be able to pass it on so we can tend to our other duties.
Thank you. So this was taken off of consent by both Counselor Lee Garcia and Counselor Michael Garcia. Do you have a preference among you or between you? Counselor Garcia, go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Director Dozier and Director Dupree for being here. Initially, I wanted to pull this because we only saw it at finance and I didn't, I kind of wanted to have a little bit more discussion in regards to, 3 of our governing body members who were not able to ask any questions about it. It's an integral part to the whole process, to the step plan that that's been provided in regards to other items on our consent, which is P, Q, and R. And I just, number 1, wanted to pull it for that reason. Number 2, I wanted to ask because in the item, I have to find it again. Excuse me for a second. The contract is for a term of 1 year and 2 months. And it looks like we are spending, where's the amount? $264,463.70. I did ask the question on finance. It was basically to supply one person under contract. And for this specific term, are we looking at possibly creating a position for this in the future and not having to come back to an outside contractor to fulfill this? Because it's quite a bit of money and I think it can be handled in-house.
Mr. Mayor, members of the governing body, Councilor Garcia, the position was actually, when we started looking at it, we wanted to find the best way that we could initially get the person immediately, for one. The other piece was we looked at other contractors using like sort of our engineering companies to do the same project work. Well, what drew us more to using the temp service is the possibility of actually hiring someone from it. Now, at the current state right now, we can't request to get a position made because we're right in the budget section. We will be coming forward trying to get this position created because we have probably the next 5 to 10 years, we're going to have projects going on that we're trying to do everything from rebuilding at the plant or even possibly building another facility. So this position would actually be something that is feasible for the wastewater department to actually support and have.
Thank you. And I think again, for clarification and also for the public that is interested in what's going on, issues at our wastewater treatment plants is definitely on high radar with many people, including our downstream users. In regards to this position, is there a specific job duties that are laid out for it? I don't know if I was in here and I didn't see it.
Mr. Mayor, Councilor Garcia, the intention is a very high level, broad scope of project management. Ultimately, we looked at some other options where we have project management job descriptions for staff that are hired full-time. Ultimately, we'd like to have that fulfilled in the long term. So I would look to that as the specifics for what the requirements are. But with 8 contractors and it being a technical and high priority project and so many vendors being coordinated, scheduling is going to be an incredible part of making it work well together. And ultimately, like I mentioned earlier, it has really consumed my and Michael's time. We literally tag team it, talk 10, 12 times a day, make sure that things are continuing to move forward. I go to someone's office and say, can this thing on your desk move pretty please? We're just trying to make things happen. And it really is time consuming. And so initially it's going to be helping us be able to do what our other jobs are, as well as giving this project the attention it deserves.
Thank you, Director. And so the scope of work then, if I am understanding, is directed more towards the step 10 of the process, which is kind of like the project manager person that is making sure that the processes are happening and done on time.
Mr. Mayor, Councilor Garcia, that's correct.
That's, those are my questions, Mr. Mayor. Yield the floor for anybody who has.
Thank you.
anything else.
Counselor Michael Garcia, sir, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Director Dupuy and Mr. Dozier for being here. Because this didn't go to Public Works and Utilities, I've had to really rely on the testimony during the Finance Committee and now, and what's in the packet. And to me, the information I've uncovered and just want to confirm, this roughly $250 million is for one person. 250,000, sorry, I apologize. It's
Mr. Mayor, Councilor Garcia, yes, that is correct. It is one person.
or roughly 14 months.
Yes, the other portion of that, though, it's not the entire pieces for the one person. There also is a service charge for the company that is we're using, the ITS Quest.
Understandable. And it's our intention to only utilize this service for 14 months. Am I understanding that correctly?
Mr. Mayor, Councilor Garcia, I think that's really hard to tell. We know we'll need it for 14 months. I would speculate that we need it for longer. And ultimately, if we're all singing Kumbaya 14 months from now, I would be the happiest guy on the planet. And that's where we intend to be. Ultimately, I wouldn't want to shut off the potential or the need for that, because there will be subsequent phases that are not just the Band-Aids, but the long-term fix. And to the extent that that involves significant project implementation, I would see a very meaningful transition from the specific 10-point plan to something that's beyond that.
Okay, so, and my question gets to what Councilor Garcia asked earlier around a description. And so from my understanding, this individual is going to be a project director. And from previous conversations, I'm going back to Public Works and Utilities, this is going to be a multi-year process. So why are we thinking we would only need this individual for 14 months?
Mr. Mayor, Councilor Garcia, we'd much rather have this position in-house as a permanent employee. And we want someone that can support us as soon as possible. This is the means to that end.
Okay. And so I guess, what's the intent, how, if we're gonna try to bring this person in-house, can you speak a little more to that? What does that look like?
Mr. Mayor, Council Garcia, I intentionally wanted it through the next budget cycle. So our traditional way of introducing new positions outside of emergency projects, which this is, would be going through our budget process. I would propose that we'd have this position become a permanent position in our FY 26 budget process.
Okay. And so with that being said, how much are you proposing to budget for this position in the future?
Mr. Mayor, Council Garcia, we would look at what the project manager position range is and budget between midpoint and somewhere halfway between there and the top of the range.
Have you, I guess, let me ask this question. Have you put in your budget? Because the budget's coming out next week. I mean, it's printing as we speak. So how much did you budget this in the proposed budget for this position?
Mr. Mayor, Council Garcia, we do not have this position budget in the current budget cycle because this occurred subsequent to it that being required to be submitted, the deadline for those items. We want to be as meaningfully integrated into the standard processes as possible. And even if we did budget that, waiting until July for this position is not a meaningful solution to what we're trying to address at the moment.
Understandable. I know we want to get this person on board as quick as possible, but I also want to get us off of a $250,000 contract for one person. And so trying to really understand when we bring this person on board potentially, what it's going to cost us at that point. And so do you have a range of what a project director makes for this particular position?
Mr. Mayor, Councilor Garcia, the specific person we recruited, which we think is a great candidate, they make between $35 and $40 an hour. That's something that gets a particular person in the door. I would ultimately want to look at how that type of skill set is obtained across the city, try and have some consistency and work with our HR director to make sure that we're recruiting appropriately.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir. You had a comment or a answer to the question?
Yes, sir. Mr. Mayor, Councilor Garcia. The project manager position already exists within city government. And so what I would want to do would be to reach out to the HR director, Bernadette Salazar. We can get you information about what the pay grade is, what the salary range is for project managers. But likely what the project manager position is across IT and other departments would be similarly situated within the Public Utilities Department. And just, I think what Director Dozier and Director Dupuy are trying to do is to tackle a real problem with both short-term and long-term solutions. And so to some extent, I don't know that all of the T's are dotted and all the I's are wrapped up for each of the 10 points that they're working on right now. Getting the 10th person in the door right now is because we're trying to illustrate we're taking the problem very seriously. We're trying to get someone in here as quickly as possible. Because of the budgetary and HR constraints, we weren't in a position as they began creating this plan to create a new position now and implement it. There was a freeze within the HR office. And so I just wanted to say I'm grateful for their creativity that they put forward to try to respond both with some short-term and long-term solutions as we continue working towards either a fully updated plant or a full new all the way together. So I just want to add that. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. And doing some quick math, $30 to $40 an hour, that at the high range, it's about $80,000 to $85,000. That's a steep difference from $250,000. Why are we confident that we're going to be able to bring this person in-house when they're making much more on the private side?
Mr. Mayor, Councilor Garcia, they are actually applying for a job that we have that's a permanent job already. Our benefits are incredibly stellar and as good as it gets. And ultimately, they're part of the para system, which has a draw beyond no other.
Understandable, but I mean, when you're talking, and I don't know the breakdown of how much the company is taking overhead versus the employees getting paid. But that's a big gap, $80,000 plus benefits versus hundreds of thousands of dollars potentially. And so I think, again, I'm a bit concerned in regards to why we think we can bring this person in-house. Next, my question is this process circumventing our typical hiring process? Because we're bringing somebody on as a contractor. When we have a position, we open it up for general application. We basically are saying here, when we open this position, we've already selected our candidate. Nobody else apply because we've got our person. So I guess my question, and maybe it's for Director Salazar, but she's not here unfortunately, but isn't that in some way circumventing our typical hiring process?
Mr. Mayor,
City Manager?
Mr. Mayor, Councilor Garcia, it's not. We will still do a full, fair, and open posting of the position. It's actually quite common in city government now that when we have a person leave a position, someone is appointed the acting in the short term. That person does not guarantee the job when it's posted. They're filling the position, the temporary position. So even if the stars were to align for Director Dupuy, that whatever person is the temp that they want to hire, there's still no guarantee that person will ultimately be offered the job.
That's not what we just heard.
Well, I'm telling you what I know.
Right, I understand that's the typical process, but we just told the public right now. I'm sorry, maybe you misunderstood, Mr. Blair, but we basically said we're bringing on this contractor because we need the help now. And we're going to do what we need to do to bring him in-house,
Mr. Dupuy?
right? And so
Mr.
I
Mayor.
think that's a concern to me in regards to how we conduct our hiring processes, because even if it's the best candidate, we shouldn't say we're going to bring this person. We're going to say we'll allow them to apply, but I think that to me is concerning. So I think if the position is already there, I think we're in budget season. We can shift monies around potentially to bring this person on board and save the city a heck of a lot of money if it costs us less to hire a position. Not saying this individual, because it would be a fair and transparent, open process. We might get somebody from elsewhere that has much more qualifications. We say, yes, we're bringing this person on board. I understand the urgency, but I also want to understand at the end of the day, the cost to the taxpayers. And I think if this, I would not be in favor of looking at this contract again for $250,000. I think we need to open up when we budget, we can even do a mid-year budget for it and hire for this position. Open up the position, and that way we ensure we don't have to get into this contract again next year, and we have a full-time staff person on board to fill this role.
Mr. Mayor, Councilor Garcia, I think I have a track record of trying to get rid of consultants. One that was put toward me with Mountain River, and we had a hard deadline and have not had to have any deficiencies because we made that decision so abruptly, because we had a lot of backstopped support with permanent hires, with the support of the HR director, the city manager, et cetera. And so I think that what you're requesting is something we can 100% accomplish and is the meaningful way to move forward. I just wanted to have a meaningful time span so that if we needed it, it was there.
I completely got you, and I support that, but I think we need to have the plan in place to ensure that the 14 months that's the end all be all. So I appreciate the feedback. I hope everything works out, and good luck with the project as it moves forward. No other questions, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Faulkner?
So I have a couple of questions. One, how critical is this position for right now? Is it a short-term critical?
Well, Mr. Mayor, Councilor Faulkner, this is a very critical position in that if me and Director Dupree are working this, it's gonna cost the city a lot more just to pay us to get us to be able to wrangle all of this in and everything else we're doing. We don't want to let anything else fall short of getting our attention. That is the first piece that is important. The other piece is having someone controlling timing, what's going on in the projects, and actually being a eye on the project at the facility, you know, the entire week is really critical because we can't be there all the time. And when you're having a project that something's going on, that a contractor doesn't show up at the right time, or you have to offload a truck that has the parts you're needing to work with, somebody's got to be there and ready to manage that task and get it taken care of. Any time that we have timing or delays, contractors tend to start charging us more. So we want to have something in place that we can at least have a slight guarantee that it's taken care of.
Another question I have is, did the need for this come up after you have already built your budget request for this budget cycle?
Mr. Mayor, Councilor Faulkner, this only came up because of the emergency procurement we're working with, and it was already after the budgets were already submitted.
Right, so to be able to fit this into your budget somehow, you'd have to readdress your entire budget for this budget cycle.
Exactly.
Like, the other question I have is I noticed that sometimes you guys use Hazen Consulting for engineering and this similar kind of work. Would that be more expensive than going this route?
Mr. Mayor, Councilor Faulkner, we have looked at that option, and ultimately for project managers through Hazen, it's between 125 to 200 an hour. And it's something that has much lower likelihood of us being able to recruit that person as a permanent employee. To the extent that we have meaningful applicants through the ITS Quest resource, I think that one is the more meaningful one for us to pursue long-term, as long as it gets someone here today or in the very near future. Alternatively, we would defer to someone like Hazen to provide project management support at a higher or greater expense.
And there probably wouldn't be a dedicated individual solely for this purpose for the city. It might be that Hazen would assign several people, and could there be issues with consistency in service in that case?
Mr. Mayor, Councilor Faulkner, that's correct.
The other question I have is, this person who's being hired, are we providing health benefits for them, or is some of the cost related to kind of offsetting the loss of benefits? I'm a consultant and I have to pay for my own benefits generally. Is that some of the costs related to this amount of money that we're putting forward to this contract?
Mr. Mayor, Councilor Faulkner, that is correct. It was discussed that them coming from an organization that has those benefits to one that doesn't would necessitate them being able to accomplish providing for those services themselves.
So basically, in an effort to kind of recruit them to work for the city, you had to offset their opportunity costs of losing health insurance and probably pension and whatever else until, and if they became a permanent member of city's work group.
That's correct.
Okay, that's all I have, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Castro, I believe you had your hand up.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it, Director Dupuy, Director Dozier, for your time. I had a couple questions about the termination of this contract if we were to decide to terminate. It is my understanding, and if folks want to look on page 4, I think it's section B, section 5 under B, we have a 30-day window if we wanted to terminate this contract. For example, if we were to post this on July 1st after the window, and we were to find somebody through the city, we do have the option to terminate this contract. Is that correct?
Mr. Mayor, Councilor Castro, That would be my understanding. I'd want to confirm with legal. We've had similar experiences with this company through a statewide price agreement, not our own specific contract, but our own specific contract operates generally very similar. And I would defer to our legal counsel or our purchasing department for clarification.
So I do also, so that's great, and I would love to hear the answer to that question if we could at some point. Maybe we have an email follow-up from legal. I want to point out one of the reasons that I think there's a difference between a consultant and a temp worker, and a lot of that is generally, and I don't know, but temp workers don't generally get a big portion of that money, and they generally don't get any benefits. And so it might be that a person would be working for a temp agency, and it might be more beneficial for them to work for the city of Santa Fe as a direct employee. They're also part of a, organized union. They have some other benefits associated. So I don't feel that we would have trouble recruiting, but I would like to know if this is something we're locked in for 14 months or something that we can maybe have a 30-day window where we find somebody and then do away with this contract. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Other comments or questions at this time? City Attorney, thank you. I'm
Mayor Weber, counselors, I just wanted to comment on the termination clause. I just pulled it up. Our standard language allows for termination for convenience or cause, and this contract does have that language in there. And I would not characterize it as a window within which we can terminate, but we generally give a 30-day notice to the contractor that we are terminating. There are certain circumstances under which we could give a shorter notice. So we could terminate it at any time during the term of the contract.
Even better. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Other questions or comments? No other hands are up. We have a motion on the floor. Madam Clerk, can you call the roll?
Certainly, Mayor. I know that Councilor Romero Worth made the motion, but can I confirm who seconded the motion?
Counselor Lindell was the second.
Thank you, Mayor. Councilor Castro,
Yes.
Councilor Chavez,
Yes.
Councilor Faulkner,
Yes.
Councilor Lee Garcia,
Yes.
Councilor Michael Garcia,
Yes.
Councilor Lindell,
Yes.
Councilor Romero Worth,
Yes.
Councilor Cassett,
Yes.
Mayor Weber,
Yes,
motion passed.
thank you. Thank you both for being here. And I think you heard the spirit of the governing body, supportive and also looking for a more substantive solution going forward. Thank you. Thank you both. Madam Clerk, can you take us to the next item on the agenda, please?
Certainly, Mr. Mayor. The next item is 10A. This is consideration of a resolution sponsored by Councilor Signy Lindell and Mayor Alan Weber. It's a resolution naming the field known as Fort Marcy Ball Field, Zozobra Field at Fort Marcy Park, accepting a monument in the form of Zozobra from the Santa Fe Kiwanis Club and approving the construction of the monument at the entry to Fort Marcy Complex Majors Field Park and allowing Kiwanis Club to place a time capsule in the monument.
Is there a motion? Is there a second? We have a motion. We have a second. I would defer to staff to give us an overview and then turn it over to the members of the governing body for discussion. Nope, I'm not sure your mic is on.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor,
There you go.
councilors. This resolution is to rename the ball field at Fort Marcy Park to Zozobra Field at Fort Marcy Park. It also includes accepting a monument for Zozobra that would be at the entrance to the Fort Marcy Recreation Complex on the corner of Bishop's Lodge Road, and accepting the monument after construction by Kiwanis, and the construction would be paid for by Kiwanis. The construction would include time capsules as well.
Thank you. Councilor Lindell, this is a proposal sponsored by you. I guess I'll turn the floor over to you before I open it for questions and then turn to my colleagues on the governing body for any questions they have.
Well, thank you, Mayor. I'm happy to be here, with this item tonight. I want to make one thing perfectly clear. We are not renaming Fort Marcy. There's been a lot of confusion about that. We're not renaming anything. We're naming a previously unnamed field at Fort Marcy, the Zobra Park at Fort Marcy. It's, the Zobra has been a 100-year tradition, which is kind of amazing for something to go on for 100 years, completely done by volunteers, and it's a beloved event in this town. I think everyone up here has been, and everybody likes the Zobra, and everybody likes to say burn him 100 times over. So I'm excited about this. A lot of people are excited about it, and a 100-year event is without question a terrific tradition. So that's what I've got on it, Mayor. I'm really excited about this.
Thank you, Counselor. I remind everybody, this is not a public hearing, but
Correct.
we can talk among ourselves and discuss it as members of the governing body and staff. Questions for staff at this time? Counselor Faulkner.
So having grown up here, I always understood fiestas not to be religious, but more historic in nature. Is that? I know there's some concern that it's a religious practice because the Zobra is connected to fiesta. Any feedback on that?
Mr. Mayor, Counselor Faulkner, that is not what I understand at all. This is not a religious monument.
Other questions? Counselor Castro.
Maybe just a comment. My understanding is that Zozobra is one event and Fiestas is a separate event, but maybe Mr. Sandoval would like to elaborate?
Wait one sec.
Mayor, Councilors, I see some questions and faces. So I think if staff would like to defer to an expert witness, I think that's up to staff. So definitely, we have a standard for procedure in the
Yeah,
future.
the
If
reason
we
I
have a-
said this is not a public hearing was I wanted to make sure we didn't entertain voices without going through the proper process. But I think if the staff would like to ask Mr. Sandoval to comment on something that is more, he has expert knowledge of, that would be really appropriate.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Counselor Castro, we would like to defer to Ray Sandoval to speak towards this.
Thank you for going through that step for us.
Mr. Mayor, Councilor Castro, yeah, you're absolutely correct. These are two separate events. In fact, in Will Schuster's diary, he wanted to make sure that Zozobra was neither religious or political. There was one political Zozobra in 1940 where he did the Axis powers. He felt that that was a mistake and he asked never to do that again. And in fact, it's one of the reasons why he left it to the Kiwanis Club, which is a nonprofit that cannot be religious in nature.
Keep going.
Thank you. I did have some constituents email me and have some concerns around fundraising and promotion, specifically of this in particular. I'd like to know more about the BRIC fundraiser and also what's going in the time capsule and how that event is going to happen, but also some of the tourism dollars that are going to promote the 100th.
Mr. Mayor, Counselor Castro, it's my understanding that the funding towards this monument is strictly coming from Kiwanis. The bricks, as I understand, will be part of the monument, but it's not a fundraising affair necessarily as far as trying to make money on that, just towards the construction.
My understanding was there was some also involvement with the bus systems that we were going to be promoting Zozobra on the buses. Is that correct?
Mr. Mayor, Counselor Castro, I'm not aware of that.
I think I've been misinformed on that. Thank you so much. And I see the floor.
Thank you. Other questions? Counselor Lee Garcia.
Thank you, Mayor. And thank you guys for being here again. Yeah, I just want to elaborate on the distinction between Zozobra and Fiesta. I am involved with Fiesta, and I was involved heavily in the past, and how they just coincidentally happened at the same time. And so a lot of times people think that Fiesta is kicked off by Zozobra, and it's not. It's kicked off by the Pregon Mass and some other items that the Fiesta Council Incorporated do. And so just so the people are aware, and the public are aware of the distinction between the two organizations. Initially, when this came to committee, I pulled it because I wanted to have some questions in regards to the city's responsibility for the monument in the future. And I think that was, I think it'd be appropriate to maybe re-ask that question. And again, being that the monument will be donated to the city, and that the city, the resolution that we're approving tonight gives the city full authority over it in the future, because we will be responsible for maintaining the area that it'll be placed, and so on and so forth for the future. It'll be through the Parks Department, my understanding. And so if you can just elaborate on those two items real quick.
Yes, Mr. Mayor and Councilor Garcia, that is correct. We will be taking over the maintenance of the monument once the construction is finished, and it will fall under the responsibility of the city.
Thank you. And I think one of the questions that I did raise was in the case that it would be vandalized or somehow, you know, I use the term, maybe they try to burn the monument as we do every year, you know, that we would have full authority to go back and work with the Kiwanis Club, either reconstruct or do as we please at that point. And so I think that's one of the areas that I was really concerned about in regards to how, and I think that the resolution does direct us that we will be taking over as ownership of the monument once it is dedicated over to the city.
Mr. Mayor, Councilor Garcia, that's correct.
Thank you. No more questions. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Other questions? All right. Seeing no other hands, there is a motion on the floor. Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Certainly, Mr. Mayor. Counselor Chavez,
Yes.
Counselor Faulkner,
Yes.
Counselor Lee Garcia,
Yes.
Counselor Michael Garcia,
Yes.
Counselor Lindell,
Yes.
Counselor Romero Worth,
Yes.
Counselor Cassett,
Yes.
Counselor Castro,
Yes.
Mayor Weber,
Yes.
motion passed.
Thank you. Thank you all for being here, and we look forward to further celebration of the 100th anniversary. Congratulations. Madam Clerk, can you take us to the next item on the calendar, please?
Certainly, Mr. Mayor. Next item is 10B. It's consideration of a resolution sponsored by Counselor Jamie Cassett. It's a resolution authorizing the sale and consumption of beer during the 2024 Santa Fe Century at the Rail Yard Park on May 19th, 2024, pursuant to subsection 23-6.2C SFCC 1987.
Thank you. Is there a motion?
Move to approve?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, did you get both of those? Okay, great. I will turn to Counselor Cassett for those who are watching or listening, not familiar with the item, to give us the overview of what this achieves.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor. This very simply would allow the sale of alcohol on the last day of the Santa Fe Century, which is a large bike event, a great community event. And they wanted to have the opportunity to have sale and consumption of alcohol on that last celebratory day. So this would give them that permission for that one time.
Thank you. Are there questions about this item? All in, all good? Very good, Madam Clerk. Can you call the roll, please?
Certainly, Mr. Mayor. Counselor Faulkner,
I think, Counselor Faulkner, we're calling the roll. She's with us imminently. That's a yes.
Counselor Lee Garcia,
Yes.
Counselor Michael Garcia,
Yes.
Counselor Lindell,
Yes.
Counselor Romero Worth,
Yes.
Counselor Cassett,
Yes.
Counselor Castro,
Yes.
Counselor Chavez,
Yes.
Mayor Weber.
Yes,
Motion passed.
thank you. In that case, Madam Clerk, would you take us to the next item on the agenda, please?
Certainly, Mr. Mayor. The next item is 10C. It's a request for ratification of the First Amendment to the Cooperative Project Agreement Construction Work Item Number 23-0514 with New Mexico Department of Transportation to extend the term through April 1st, 2025. And we have Complete Streets Capital Projects Manager Romeo Glorioso Mas for questions.
And is there a motion?
Move to approve. Second.
There's a motion and there was a simultaneous second. Counselor Garcia graciously acknowledges Counselor Cassett in a tie. So that's the motion on the floor. Could you please just give us an overview of this item for folks who are watching or listening and want to know more about what we'll be voting on?
Good evening. Thank you, Mr. Mayor Weber and councilors. Staff is requesting to ratify the First Amendment to the Cooperative Project Agreement that was approved by the city manager on March 22nd via Santa Fe City Code 2-4.6.b. So on March 19, 2024, staff received the requested First Amendment to the Cooperative Project Agreement construction work from NMDOT for city's signatures. The purpose of this funding agreement is to construct the Cañada Rincon Trail from Calle Mejia to Avenida Rincon. The amendment includes term extension through April 1, 2025, with no corresponding change in the amount of funding. Since the document had to be returned to NMDOT for execution by March 22nd, 2024, there was not enough time to place the agreement on the governing body's meeting last March 27th. Hence, the agreement was approved by the city manager via Santa Fe City Code 2-4-0.6.b. Thank you. I stand for questions.
Very good. Thank you. Are there questions at this time? Very good. In that case, Madam Clerk, can you call the roll on the motion?
Certainly, Mr. Mayor. Counselor Lee Garcia,
Yes.
Counselor Michael Garcia,
Yes.
Counselor Lindell, Counselor Romero Worth,
Yes.
Counselor Cassett,
Yes.
Counselor Castro,
Yes.
Counselor Chavez,
Yes.
Counselor Faulkner,
Yes.
Mayor Weber.
Absolutely, yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you. And Madam Clerk, the next item, please.
The next item on the agenda is item 10D. It's a request for approval of a budget amendment resolution in the amount of $700,000 from road impact fees to parks for Cañada Rincon Trail WIP construction. And Complete Streets Capital Projects Manager Romelo Glorioso Mas is here for questions.
Is there a motion on this item?
Motion to approve.
Second.
There's a motion to approve and there's a second. As you did with the last item, I think that's a good example of giving us the walkthrough of what this would accomplish and why we're doing it. Please give us the same kind of a briefing.
Thank you, Mayor Weber and councilors. So this item is related to the previous item. The funding we have to construct Cañada Rincon was only $1.5 million. And the lowest bid to construct the project was $2.2 million. Therefore, we lacked $700,000. So staff is requesting to bar the additional construction funding of $700,000 using road impact fees. This project is eligible to up to $2.5 million of road impact fees as per Resolution 22-18. Additional construction funding is needed to cover the cost of building an ADA compliant ramp, landscaping, and fencing, all approved by the former Bicycle and Trails Advisory Committee Chair, Councilor Joseph Maestas in 2017. So it took a long time to construct the project from the time the project was completely designed in 2017. And we just started construction last January of this year. Thank you.
Thank you.
Stand-
Questions?
Questions?
Questions on this item? No questions? Counselor Faulkner? No, just preparing to vote. Madam Clerk, can you call the roll on the motion on the floor, please?
Certainly, Mr. Mayor. Counselor Michael Garcia,
Yes.
Counselor Lindell,
Yes.
Counselor Romero Worth,
Yes.
Counselor Cassett,
Yes.
Counselor Castro,
Yes.
Counselor Chavez,
Yes.
Counselor Faulkner,
Yes.
Counselor Lee Garcia,
Yes.
Mayor Weber.
Yes,
Motion passed.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here. We have a little hiccup in our agenda. The city manager just texted me to let me know that he has a pressing matter that he has to be taking a call on and will not be able to be in the order of business, the next item on the agenda. I suppose we need to amend the agenda to skip him, or can we, I'm looking at our city attorney for some guidance.
Mayor Weber, councilors, perhaps you could lay that matter on the table and
Move to move the matters from the city manager on the table until he returns to the chamber.
Thank you.
Second.
Okay, thank you. Can we, I assume we just vote on that, yep. Up or down? All in, let's have a roll call vote on laying the matters from the city manager on the table till he can return from the call he's taking right now that has required him to be absent.
Certainly. Counselor Lindell.
She is also indisposed.
Okay, Counselor Romero Worth,
Yes.
Counselor Cassett,
Yes.
Counselor Castro,
Yes.
Counselor Chavez,
Yes.
Counselor Faulkner,
Yes.
Counselor Lee Garcia,
Yes.
Counselor Michael Garcia,
Yes.
Mayor Weber.
Yes,
Motion passed.
excellent. Thank you. When Mr. Blair is able to return, we'll give him an opportunity to bring matters to our attention. In the meantime, Madam Clerk, the next item.
The next item, Mayor, is matters from the city attorney.
Madam City Attorney.
Thank you, Mayor, councilors. I do not have a recommended executive session tonight. I will be doing a quarterly litigation update at the end of April. So if there's any cases in particular that anyone would like me to prepare in particular, please let me know. And I can also bring, fellow staff members and things like that, if that would be helpful. Please let me know about that. A couple other things. We did have a successful, after 6 years, 8 years, in the case of the city v. Catanac, New Mexico Surf last week. So that tower that was built without a permit will be coming back to the city for a review of its safety. And this is the tower that's 80 feet tall and 20 feet from the neighboring property. So that had been a long time city case that the city filed to enforce the city's building code with that tower. So it is coming back to the city for a building permit and review of the safety of that tower, unless it is appealed in the next couple of weeks, but that is our understanding of what's happening right now. That was in the First Judicial District Court after having gone to the Court of Appeals and then going back to the First Judicial District Court. So that is good news. We did notice, and I'll be sending an email to the Santa Fe Reporter, that the Santa Fe Reporter linked to the case we were not talking about in the memo that accompanies one bill that's being introduced tonight regarding median safety. It's a Evans v. Sandy City is the 10th Circuit case that's referenced in the memo that you have from Marcos Martinez from my office. And in that case, the median language is extremely similar to what's being proposed. And the case that was cited by the Santa Fe Reporter is an Albuquerque case with very different language than what's being proposed. So I will send them that link. We did not name the case in the memo, so it was ambiguous which 10th Circuit case we were talking about, and those are both 10th Circuit cases. So we're going to add that to the memo. So you'll get an amended memo soon. When reviewing our IPRA numbers recently, we have identified that we were probably going to hit 10,000 this year requests to the city of Santa Fe. City of Albuquerque is in the realm of 12,000, which means that we're getting about 4 times per capita requests for the city of Santa Fe, which is shocking, really. And then a heads up that you'll probably be getting a message from me, and it is likely that we are going to need a special meeting, unfortunately, to name members to a state local government historic review board. We're still looking through the various ordinances and the statute that applies to that to make a final recommendation, but it's looking like because the Historic Districts Review Board adopted findings of fact and conclusions of law disapproving the demolition last night of the casitas across from the state capitol, that if the delegation is there for HDRB to be the final authority on that before we go to the state local government historic review board, then we will need to name an appointee from the governing body, and the HDRB would also name 2 appointees, and the state names certain appointees. So that's FYI, that's probably coming. If it's not that step, then there's other things the governing body might need to do to have a final decision. So
When you say from the governing body, you don't mean among the members of the governing body specifically.
Mayor Weber, councilors, to clarify, similar to other appointments to committees, we would have to have an appointment to this type of a board. So mayor would recommend someone and the governing body would approve. Similar with the HDRB. So they might need to have a special meeting as well. So this has never happened before. So we are confirming how our ordinances apply to this situation. And we are in communication with the state about this as well. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Can we, now that the city manager has finished his emergency phone call, take that item off the table?
Move to take matters from the city manager off the table and make it the next order of business. Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Madam Clerk, could you call the roll?
Certainly, Mr. Mayor. Counselor Romero Worth,
Yes.
Counselor Cassett,
Yes.
Counselor Castro,
Yes.
Counselor Chavez,
Yes.
Counselor Faulkner,
Yes.
Counselor Lee Garcia,
Yes.
Counselor Michael Garcia,
Yes.
Counselor Lindell.
She stepped out.
Sorry, Mayor Weber.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Very good. Mr. Blair, the next order of business is matters from the city manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council. I apologize for having to step out to take a phone call. A few quick things from me tonight. First is to congratulate Brian Williams on the evacuation tabletop he hosted a few Fridays ago. A chance to sort of introduce the concept to the public and show them some of the scenarios we're considering. But he put a lot of work into that, and we're real proud of how it turned out. And then the only other 2 things is, first of all, to wish everyone luck on Saturday at the Keep Santa Fe Beautiful event. I know Carol Branch and the team and others have been doing a lot of work to set that up. And so we're grateful for their contribution to Keep Santa Fe Beautiful. And then just a quick reminder that Friday's paycheck that came out included the first phase of the compensation and class study that we've implemented. And so for non-union employees who are affected, police and fire union employees who are affected, many employees, about 700 plus, did see an increase in their pay that they received on Friday, which is really exciting. So we're not done yet. That's just the first phase. There'll be more to come. But when you combine what's happening with compensation in class with 3% across the board raises last year, 8% across the board the year before that, 2% the year before that, the thousands of dollars of retention incentives that the city has been giving their employees, I think there's a clear commitment to ensure that we treat our employees well. So thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. City Manager. Next item, please, Madam Clerk.
Next item on the agenda is matters from the city clerk. I just want to welcome Mariah Kavanaugh to the constituent services team. I'm happy Izzy's getting the well-needed help that she deserves and anxious to work with her. And with that, Mayor, that's all I have. The next item on the agenda is communications from the governing body.
Excellent, thank you. Let me begin to my left, Counselor Garcia.
Thank you, Mayor. Not too much tonight. I just wanted to, again, keep Santa Fe beautiful this weekend. I think it's, well attended by many throughout the city, and be safe out there because a lot of times people are, walking along streets. And a shout out to our environmental services division for the extra effort in terms of not only organizing, but picking up all the trash and bags that are out there on the streets throughout the weekend. Just want to make one comment in regards to the wastewater treatment plant. And it's, you know, there is a lot going on there, and I think the community has really got their eyes and their ears on it. And there may not always be agreement as to how we go about doing that, but as long as we keep the truth out and transparency to people, then, you know, I think we will be successful there. That's what I have tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Counselor Cassidy.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor. Keep Santa Fe Beautiful event. I think anybody, everybody's mentioned it so far. But anybody who is interested in keeping our community clean, very much encourage you to take part in this cleanup for our city. Go onto the website, go ahead and sign up. You can get assistance in organizing your neighborhood, your community, to make sure that we can go out there and pick up trash and do our part. Also wanted to mention a couple other fun events that we have coming up. We have the Santa Fe Public Library Santa Fe Read kickoff concert and celebration event. That's on Saturday, April 20th. And it looks like there's events at both the South Side and at the Teen Center, Southside Library and the Teen Center from 12 to 4. I know my book club is very excited about the Santa Fe Reads event, and we like to make sure that we get our picture taken to send over to that, as well as the literary festival. So wanted to remind everyone that that's happening. I also wanted to mention that on April 27th, I am partnering with Growing Up New Mexico, as well as the Office of Economic Development and the Children and Youth and Family Services Department, Julie Sanchez Department, to look at a family-friendly mini summit. And so I want to reach out to families, parents in our community to hear more about what they would like to see to create a family-friendly Santa Fe. So if anybody is interested in participating in that summit, we do also have a survey that is out that we're hoping to get a lot of families to answer. Please reach out to me. Go ahead and send me an email, jcassett@santafenm.gov. And then last, I wanted to mention, oh, no, two more things. On April 28th is the Children's Museum 5K. So a great organization. I love the Children's Museum, spend a lot of time there. So anybody that wants to support this incredible place, please take a look at the 5K, see what donations you can make, go out for a run. Should be a really fun family event. And then I did want to mention the Economic Development Advisory Committee, which I chair, will be accepting applications for new members. Potentially, we have some members that their terms are up, so wanted to give the community a heads up that that is on the horizon. And if they are interested, really encourage them to apply, and we would love to have them. Thank you so much.
Very good, thank you. Counselor Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. I too will be participating in the Keep Santa Fe Beautiful event on Saturday. Look forward to seeing everybody out there. It is going to be bigger and better than ever. And as we roll into spring, really great timing for cleaning up the city. That's all I have. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Counselor Faulkner.
Excited about Keep Santa Fe Beautiful as well. This is going to be a fun event, I think. I also would like to know, as many of you know, I had a couple of health scares recently, and so I'd like to thank the leadership and the folks at St. Vincent's Hospital for incredible care. I'd also like to thank Fire Station number 8 for giving me safe passage to the hospital.
Counselor Lindell, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor. The Santa Fe cleanup this weekend, it's always a good time. But here's the pathway to having the city be clean. Don't litter. Pick up after yourself. It's not that hard. I mean, we did the survey this year. I think most districts actually look better, had maybe 1 or 2 areas that hurt the scores some. District 1 looked terrific, except for 1 area. And it's people throwing trash out on the highway. Unnecessary. Please, take your trash home with you. We have a tremendous environmental services department. They pick your trash up every week. So see you out there Saturday, and that's it, Mayor. Thanks.
Thank you, Counselor Garcia, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll keep that theme going. Keep Santa Fe beautiful. I think everybody's going to be hard at work Saturday morning, keeping our community nice and pristine. I'll be working with Chaparral Elementary and their youngsters and their parents to clean up around the school and around the neighborhood. And then after the cleanup, the school is going to be hosting their own basket bingo. So get a little cleanup activity, and then who doesn't love bingo? So yes, I'm a big fan of bingo, so closet bingo fan. So so if you're interested, go join Chaparral 11 to 1. And then just to put on folks' radars, the cleanup doesn't stop this weekend. There's going to be another cleanup on May 1st, collaboration between the city and the governor's office and Santa Fe Public Schools, where we're going to be partnering up with schools such as Santa Fe High, Capitol, the Boys and Girls Club, Mayor's Youth Advisory to clean up certain areas. And so the cleaning continues. It's that time of year, spring cleaning, and I think it shouldn't necessarily rely for us to have spring to kick us into gear, but hey, I'm happy that we're cleaning up our community. So that's all I got, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Counselor.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to tell Counselor Faulkner, I'm glad that you're here and doing better. I was thinking about you. I also just want to say it's the end of the school year, which means we have proms coming up. Our youth will be celebrating a lot, just the end of the year and all of those fun events. So just be safe, have those important conversations with your kids to keep them safe. And youth, take care of each other while you enjoy the end of the year. I also think the Teen Center is hosting a prom on Friday, Night of Noise, I believe, which is an event for our LGBTQ plus youth members. So that's exciting. I believe it starts at 6. I don't have all the details in front of me. But yeah, it's a great time of year that our youth will be just celebrating, kind of entering adulthood and leaving high school behind. So I hope they all have a wonderful time. Thank you.
Thank you. And Counselor Castro.
Yes, thank you, everyone. All very exciting events. I know we're busy people. I have a couple more events to add to your calendars if possible. So this Saturday, April 13th, aside from the cleanup and the bingo, I also, the LGBTQ plus community has asked us to come out in support of LGBTQ rights at 1 p.m. at the Capitol. We'll be having a dance party. So please come out and bring all your fluff and be as queer as you'd like. And that'll be amazing on Saturday at 1 p.m. at the Capitol. There also is plenty of events on the 20th, including the Rail Yard is having an Earth Day event, I believe, at 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. So that's at the Rail Yard, along with the Big Read. And then we are cleaning the Acequia Madre, which really, really needs that help, especially down the Agua Fria corridor. So on Saturday, April 20th, if you would like to join us, I believe we start at 8:30 in the morning, but we'll take folks at any time of the day to clean the Acequia Madre. Thank you.
Thank you. Lots to celebrate and talk about in Santa Fe. We had 2 important James Beard nominations. We are a foodie capital. And so both the compound nominated as an outstanding restaurant, and Chef Rodriguez of Zacatlan is best chef category. So we're very proud of that. We all know that that's just the tip of the iceberg. There's so many more great restaurants, great chefs, dining experiences, all kinds of dining experiences in Santa Fe. But to those two in particular, congratulations on that recognition. Outstanding, we just voted on Zozobra. There was a superb gala this last weekend, big turnout, lots of celebration, and as Councilor Lindell said here earlier, 100th anniversary of something that is a community tradition. There is no city in America that can compete when it comes to these 100th anniversary traditions, whether it's the Indian Market, which we celebrated, or La Fonda, which we celebrated. There's something quite remarkable that we have to keep front and center at all times, and that is what Santa Fe means when it comes to art and culture and longevity in these areas. Yesterday, there was a very moving ceremony, the Baton Veterans Memorial, which I got to participate in again, and it is perhaps the most moving of ceremonies that we get an opportunity to participate in as a community. The history, the record, the courage of those men is really an object lesson that really needs to be kept front and center. And to see so many people there from the state, from the city, from families, was a really powerful testimony to how important those veterans and their service means to our city. And then for those who weren't tuning in earlier, Placido Borrego, we celebrated his upcoming 100th birthday, and his service in 3 different wars, and his remarkable commitment to our community and to the country when it comes to keeping us all safe in the call of duty. I want to, since we're talking about the cleanup this weekend, I want to thank everybody from the city and the councilors who were able to make it this morning to our press conference on clean and safe spring Santa Fe. 10 items across the board touching departments in all parts of the city, collaborating and cooperating to clean up litter, graffiti, shopping carts, our pothole palooza parts 1 and 2, median safety, median redesign, a list of commitments, spring planting, parks, nuisance properties, all of which we are supporting as a governing body as a commitment to a clean and safe Santa Fe. And it is spring, but it's not the only time to be doing these things. It's the time when traditionally you do a spring cleaning in your own home, in your own family, but we're going to do it citywide, and then we'll keep the momentum going. We're cooperating with the county. We're cooperating with the state. This is really a across the board effort, and everybody should take pride. And as Councilor Lindell mentioned, the best way to keep Santa Fe clean and safe is to prevent it from being dirty and having litter and having graffiti. So everybody has a part to play. Volunteers who have gone out to pick up in our parks have made an incredible contribution, and we owe them a debt of gratitude as well. They don't just do it when it's Keep Santa Fe Beautiful, the Great American Cleanup. It's around the year they are out there picking up. So pick up after yourself and after your friends and after your neighbors and in your own community, and let's all pitch in for a clean and safe spring in Santa Fe. That's about it from me. Madam Clerk, can you take us to the next item on the agenda?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, the next item on the agenda is 16, introduction of legislation. 16A is consideration of a resolution sponsored by Councilor Michael Garcia It's a resolution authorizing the sale and consumption of beer and hard cider during the Party on the Pitch soccer tournament on June 1st through the 2nd, 2024, pursuant to subsection 23-6.2C SCC 1980.
Thank you. Counselor Garcia, you want to give us a briefing on that?
I think the caption says it all. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, Counselor. Next item on the agenda, Madam Clerk.
16B is consideration of bill number 2024-3 and adoption of an ordinance sponsored by Counselor Jamie Cassett and Counselor Alma Castro. It's a bill relating to housing discrimination, defining source of income and prohibiting discrimination based on source of income, including sex, in addition to gender as a protected class, defining owner and making technical corrections.
Counselor Cassett, and then Counselor Castro.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor. First and foremost, I do want to give a lot of credit to Councilwoman Villarreal, who began this work. And I was very honored to pick it up after she departed office. And of course, very grateful to have Counselor Castro jump on. Essentially what this is doing is, as it states, that we do not want source of income to be a reason that somebody could be denied a rental that they are applying for. So if they have a voucher and that is the way that they're able to make up the rent, that is not something that a landlord could deny their application about. And we know that this has occurred. And there's also some loopholes that sometimes can be utilized to make sure that even if somebody is accepting vouchers, that they don't actually accept a voucher. So we want to close those up. You know, really looking at how this coincides with the excise tax coming online. We're going to have these additional dollars in the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. And knowing that there are a number of people who have vouchers and who have not been able to utilize them because they cannot find a rental. So how we can make sure that we continue to use as many tools in our tool belt as possible to make sure that everybody who is working here is able to live here, that they are able to afford a safe and stable home. So this is just another piece of that puzzle.
Thank you.
Pass it over to you.
Counselor Castro.
Yes, thank you. Well stated. And I just want to also add that we had a lot of community groups that were a part of this conversation. So thank you to Chainbreaker for meeting with us, and congratulations to Counselor Cassett for hosting that meeting all in Spanish. So thank you so much for doing that. I am excited to say that this is the beginning of different things that we are working on around affordable housing and protecting renters. I don't know, City Attorney, if you'd like to speak on some of the enforcement piece, but I think that is something that we have gotten some concerns about around how we are going to enforce this.
Thank you, Counselor.
Counselor, just to clarify why I'm not going to jump in is we don't have this on the agenda as a dialogue, so I can't jump into a conversation right now.
I apologize. And so we will post some more details, but this is the beginning of a conversation around how we deal with having minimum standards for renters here in the city of Santa Fe. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda, Madam Clerk.
Next item on the agenda, Mayor, is 16C. It's consideration of bill number 2024-6 and adoption of an ordinance sponsored by Mayor Alan Weber relating to the high-end excise tax for affordable housing, assigning the purchaser grantee the responsibility to attest to consideration.
Very quickly, this is a technical fix to our 3% excise tax legislation, working to make it clear where the responsibility is for the amount of the consideration that's involved in the purchase of the home. And we're just trying to make sure there's no ambiguity when it comes to implementing this piece of legislation. Next item, Madam Clerk.
Next item is 16D, consideration of bill number 2024-7 and adoption of an ordinance sponsored by Mayor Ellen Weber, relating to median safety, creating a new section 20-6 SFC 1987, regulating the use of medians in the city of Santa Fe.
Thank you. Very briefly, this is a part of our Clean and Safe program. It acknowledges that New Mexico has a very high rate, the highest pedestrian fatality rate by state per 100,000 population. Some of this is, I believe, made more risky, our pedestrian safety and driver safety, by folks sitting, standing in very narrow medians of less than 36 inches in width. And we're looking to improve safety for the public, both those who are pedestrians and those who are drivers, so that we eliminate the chance that people will be hit or cars will be distracted. So this bill will be making its way through the legislative process. Now, Madam Clerk, ordinarily we would go to petitions from the floor, but we're about 30 minutes early. So what I do is entertain a motion to take up item 21 on our agenda before we go back to petitions from the floor.
So moved. Second.
There's a motion and a second to move now to appointments, and then at 7 o'clock, we'll resume petitions from the floor. Can you call the roll on the motion, please, Madam Clerk?
Certainly, Mr. Mayor. Counselor Cassett,
Yes.
Counselor Castro,
Yes.
Counselor Chavez,
Yes.
Counselor Faulkner,
Yes.
Counselor Lee Garcia. Oh,
He's
Counselor Michael
excused for the
Garcia,
moment.
Yes. That was for
Counselor
Counselor
Lindell?
Michael. Yep,
Yeah.
sorry.
She got you.
Yes.
Yes.
Counselor Romero Worth,
Yes.
Mayor Weber,
Yes.
motion passed.
Very good. So if you would then take us to the next item on the agenda, that is appointments.
Certainly, Mayor. The next item is 21A, appointment to the Planning Commission. Appointment of Christina A. Markey to the District 4 seat with a term ending June 2026.
There a motion?
Second.
There's a motion and a second to approve this appointment. Is there discussion? Counselor Cassett.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor. I did want to thank Ms. Markey for volunteering for this position. I know that it is a lot of time and energy, and she has a wonderful resume that I think will bring a lot of skills and knowledge that will be very helpful. The one thing that I wanted to consider, though, as we're moving forward, I know that we still have some more vacancies, is really looking at some of the residents of my district and Counselor Chavez's district who have really were born and raised there, have grown up there, District 3 as well on the south side, as they are seeing this really vast change of what's going on, and really seeing that that growth. And so I know we have some more vacancies, so really encouraging the community and every single one of our members on here to be looking to reach out to some individuals that really have that historical family knowledge, that have that local knowledge of what the changes have looked like, to add to this really wonderful wonderful experience that I know that Ms. Markey, as well as many other members of the Planning Commission, bring. So very excited to have her join us, and looking forward to seeing more of that, more of the nominations to come. Thank you.
Thank you. Other comments? Madam Clerk, can you call the roll on the motion then?
Certainly, Mr. Mayor. Counselor Castro,
Yes.
Counselor Chavez,
Yes.
Counselor Faulkner,
Yes.
Counselor Lee Garcia. Oh, sorry, Counselor Michael Garcia,
Yes. And Counselor Lee
Um,
Garcia just stepped in.
Counselor Lee Garcia,
Yes.
Counselor Lindell,
Yes.
Counselor Romero Worth,
Yes.
Counselor Cassett,
Yes.
Mayor Weber,
Yes.
motion passed.
Very good. We still have about 20 minutes before we get to 7 o'clock. I propose we take a short adjournment and return promptly at 7 to resume with petitions from the floor.
Point of order. Do we
Yeah.
need a motion on that?
Do we need a motion to take an adjournment? Or a,
Mayor, Councilors, I think that's a good idea.
okay, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn till 7.
So moved.
And Mayor, Councilors, it's to recess.
To
So
recess,
Adjourn would
not
be
adjourn. To
finish
call
the
it
meeting,
quits,
yep.
you're right.
You don't need a motion for adjourning, but this
Yeah.
isn't adjourned.
Recess till 7.
Motion to recess until 7 PM.
Okay, call the roll on our motion to recess till 7.
May I please confirm who seconded the motion?
Counselor Lindell was away from her mic, but clearly seconding the motion with vigor.
Thank you, Mayor. Counselor Chavez,
Yes.
Counselor Faulkner,
Yes.
Counselor Lee Garcia,
Aye.
Counselor Michael Garcia,
Yes.
Counselor Lindell,
Yes.
Counselor Romero Worth,
Yes.
Counselor Cassett,
Yes.
Counselor Castro,
See.
Mayor Weber,
Yes.
motion passed.
Thank you. We'll be back at 7 o'clock. Thank you, everybody. Recess, adjourn. When I went out to recess as a kid, I was adjourning. Thank you, everybody. It is 2 minutes after 7. Our ordinary time for petitions from the floor. We try to hit 7 o'clock. Madam Clerk, are you with us? In Zoom?
Yes,
land?
Mayor, I'm here.
Okay, good. Are you going to be able to be your usual timekeeper self from afar?
Yes, we will be
Uh,
able to keep the
All
time.
right, great. We will put you in the role of official timekeeper. And we'll have both people who are in the chambers now and also anyone who is in the Zoom room get ready to speak on any subject to the governing body. There are no public hearings, so all subjects are relevant. We'll accord everybody 2 minutes to speak right now. Please come forward and take the microphone, introduce yourself, and the clerk will keep the clock.
You need your
Check
mic
your
on.
mic, check your mic, sir.
Start the clock.
You got it.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, pleasure to be before you today. Thank you for your service. Miles Conway, Northern New Mexico Builders Association. Thank you. None of my petition is meant to imply that everyone isn't trying hard. That said, I am here to share some thoughts on the budget priorities on behalf of the 300 members of our Contractors Associated members in Northern New Mexico. So the first 3 years of my tenure, I've come to the City Hall petitioning for improvements in the Planning and Land Use Department, only to be chastised as representing the interests of troublemaking builders. Okay, fair enough. We're good trouble. So alongside our allies, in March, we convened a group of non-troublemakers. Some of our city's finest, most well-run commercial contractors, heavy renewable industry representatives, architectural community, small builders alike. And the feedback we received that things are as bad or worse now than in anyone's decades-long memory in terms of developing or getting a permit out of the Planning and Land Use Department. So the budget requests of the Planning and Land Use Department, we need a dedicated system administrator who can perform crucial system maintenance without the need to wait for this mythical Tyler Systems InterGov consultant to make his Northern New Mexico rounds, or have our land use IT system needs make its way to the front of the queue for the city's heavily burdened IT information technology staff. So we've outgrown some of our practices when the city's IT department had the capacity to serve planning and land uses technology needs. We badly need a budget and a commitment and a mandate and a consultant to get the software and the dedicated consultant to implement electronic plan review. We still need that train conductor or traffic cop, Mr. Mayor, as you coined it, and promised to our industry years ago. So even with the city's newly launched third-party plan review system in place, the initial feedback of your guinea pig applicant was that they couldn't get a hold of a city staff member they needed to answer their questions, delaying their project. So thank you for your dedication, your service, and for doing everything you can to turn the corner and bring our planning and land use department into modern expectations of performance.
Thank you. Thanks very much. Let's reset the clock, Madam Clerk, so everybody gets the fair shot at their time. Good to go? Okay, sir, you have the floor.
Clock is ready. Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and councilors. Good to see you all. My name is Tom Spray, and I've been since 2012 the executive director of the Santa Fe chapter of the American Institute for Architects here in Santa Fe. And I want to echo a couple of things that my colleague Miles has just spoken to you about in terms of the budget. The particular thing I want to talk about is the electronic plan review that he mentioned. It is vital that this happen for the city. Albuquerque does it. Los Alamos does it. Las Cruces does it. Why do we not do it? Why do we have 6 rolls of massive paper every time somebody brings in a project? Walk out that door, go down the hallway, turn left into Planning and Land Use Department, and look on those tables in there and see all that paper. All that paper. That also represents money. That costs money every time to print those and get those to you. And when there's a change, which there is, and they have to go back and they have to print it again. That is more money. A few years ago, you got together and passed the contract, approved the contract for the third-party plan check. That is not a new concept, but it was for here. Finally, we did that. Dozens of municipalities and states across the country have third-party plan check, and finally, you have the start of that. Now, I would urge you in the budget discussions to find a way to make electronic plan review a priority, whether it's in the Planning and Land Use Department, the Information Technology Department, some combination, doesn't matter to us. As long as that happens, that is crucial. That saves time and that saves money. Thank you all for all the work that you do.
Thank you very much. Yes, sir.
Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, Miguel Acosta. I'm with Earth Care, a community development organization, amongst other things, with a focus on areas of the south side that have been ignored and disinvested in. These are primarily areas that were annexed for the most part and are located primarily north of Airport Road. We're still waiting for the promises of annexation, and rather than seeing investment in quality of life, amenities, and services, we've actually lost over 20 acres of open space in the last couple of years. And we're in danger of losing other undeveloped land, which could provide locations for the services and amenities that we need. Unbridled development is taking up all this land and primarily housing for landlord employees and other higher income newcomers. We're already the most densely populated area of the city with the highest proportion of children and families and the working families that make Santa Fe work. And yet we have no parks, no library, no community center, no clinic, no senior center, no opportunities for commercial development, no commercial spaces, no affordable commercial, no soccer fields. Although we're thinking about calling it pickleball soccer because that seems to get all the funding. So we're needing investment in an equitable fashion. So our budget proposal is that the city fund amenities based on the equity imbalance that exists, plan and fund these amenities in this budget in equitable proportions to this area. We also ask that the city fund and support community-led development by providing funds for training and capacity building and funding an office of neighborhood planning and at appropriate levels. We further propose that the city budget fully support language justice by providing interpretation at all meetings and translating important documents. The proposed senior center should be based north of Airport Road and be used as a foundation for a multi-purpose community hub. And finally, we ask that the city initiate a land bank and move to purchase undeveloped land and trailer home parks in this area for the purpose of locating amenities, building public housing, and promoting local commercial and cultural development. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, you have the floor.
Good evening, Mayor and Councilors. I'm Rachel Thompson, and I'm here to testify about the less than 36-inch median strip, which I know has just been introduced tonight. Even though I didn't get here in time. This will be a new tool for the police officers. And I just want to put a couple of questions out about this. I wanted to ask what data exists to compare the level of distracted driving from people sitting or standing on medians versus texting or talking on the phone. How many people have been injured or killed while standing or sitting on medians in New Mexico? What is the average width of medians where people have been injured or killed on medians? Why do we have 36 inches? Who will be responsible for determining the width of the city's medians? Approximately how many and what groups of people will be affected by this law? We were told by Attorney Sherry tonight that this has passed First Amendment muster, but there's still a right and wrong. Those people will include the unhoused who are already prohibited from important activities such as camping in public spaces and even aggregating in private spaces. They're now being harassed, and these fines will be disproportionately felt by poor people. Political protests, election information, and newspaper salespeople. What is the estimated loss to income to panhandlers and the estimated additional burden on city services? You will be interfering with private market. How long must a person stand or sit on a median in order to violate the law? Approximately how many hours will police officers be removed from street duty in order to show up for appeals? And is there finally an estimate of the number of police officers who will be injured or killed while squatting to measure medians? Thank you.
Thank you. Hang on a sec, let's get the clock reset. Go.
Mayor, councilors, my name is Richard Welker. Probably seen me here a few times. I realize how difficult it is to call out one's family, friends, or community when their behavior condones cruelty and bloodshed. And yet for their sakes, if we love them, we must do it. Our government, along with some of our citizens, shamefully supports those who cheer when bombs fall on their enemies, dance when bulldozers crush their homes, praise the blockade of food and water, laugh while shooting people scrambling for survival, revel in humiliating captives, rejoice at claiming stolen lands, and mock the perished and proudly proclaim the righteousness of exterminating an entire people. I ask you then, when the tide finally turns, as it always does, who will be left in the world who will not cheer, dance, praise, laugh, revel, rejoice, mock, and proudly proclaim righteousness in doing to us what we have allowed to be done to the other? There is a karmic law that no earthly power can undo. It says, whatever we do to the other, we do to ourselves. It explains the adage that 7 years of war equals 7 years of famine. It implies that what goes around comes around. What you do or do not do in these chambers matters deeply to our collective self-respect. Please stand with dignity with more than 100 U.S. communities in calling for a permanent ceasefire in Gaza.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, councilors, my name is Teresa Davis. I'm also here again to ask you to follow the lead of so many cities around the country and to support a ceasefire resolution. As a Jewish person, I'm also here to deliver some bad news. If you support this resolution, and I think you should, without a doubt, someone is going to call you an anti-Semite or worse. Most of us who are here tonight know this from intimate experience. I personally have been called a bully, an anti-Semite, a self-hating Jew, an extremist, a rape apologist, and my personal favorite, a member of a progressive woke mob that seeks to rule Santa Fe in alliance with Hamas. We joke about these things because they are too deeply painful to take seriously. It takes courage and perhaps some stupidity to expose oneself to such vitriol. But I do want to share with you a realization I had recently. Those who support Israel's war on civilians are resorting to ad hominem attacks because they have no arguments left. There are simply no rational arguments for the massive, indiscriminate killing of defenseless people. If you choose to courageously subject yourselves to the name-calling, know that what you are experiencing is the blind rage of those who history is proving wrong. I have a PhD in history, and I spent a decade of my life studying the rise of far-right movements in the 1920s and 30s. One of the most terrifying markers of a society sliding into violent repression is the twisted logic that turns civilians into security threats, peaceful protest into violent attack, and passionate advocacy for the marginalized into a threat to social order. In refusing to bow to spurious charges of anti-Semitism, you are taking a stand against the same twisting of language in our present moment. You are insisting on all of our freedom to name injustice and work for a better world. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor, councilors, my name is Harry Worksman. Thank you. Thank you for allowing me to speak tonight. As a provisional member of the Santa Fe Garden Club, I've been an integral part of the club's efforts to preserve and restore the Amelia White Park, which began as part of a Garden Club of America bicentenary tribute to Frederick Law Olmsted, father of landscape architecture. The club chose Amelia White Park to honor Olmsted's core beliefs that parks are for all people, that parks are the most democratic of all public spaces, and that parks are in fact the lungs of a city. Phase 1 of this project, the restoration of the central courtyard, was completed last year. You want to see all the efforts that went into that. There's a video film on the Garden Club YouTube channel. And on another note, I'd like to personally thank Mayor Weber, Councilperson Worth, their unwavering support. Phase 2 is the replacement of the pergola that runs the 360 linear feet connecting the original elements of the park, fountain, central courtyard, and the obelisk in War Heroes. Extensive research done at SAR, the Chavez Library, and UNM's John Gone Meme Archive, uncovered Meme's original sketch for the park, notations in his job books, and the original plan for the park submitted in 1954. These sketches, plans, and notes reveal that there was no pergola included in the classically designed park. Photographic evidence from 1979 shows that there was no pergola in the park at that time. However, photographic evidence from 1998 shows a pergola. While the pergola is not historic in nature, it's become an integral part of the park. The pergola in its current incarnation is poorly conceived, designed, constructed, has no historical significance nor architectural reference, is dilapidated, and in a physical danger to all visitors. Our proposal is to take down the existing pergola and replace it, keeping the same footprint and dimensions that currently exist, with a new pergola made from modern materials that will better withstand harsh winters and severe weather here in Santa Fe, safer for visitors to the park, and reduce the cost to the city for maintenance. I am now out of time, so I will close with this. Amelia White Park is only one of 3 sites in Santa Fe granted historic status by the National Parks Service, along with Fort Marcy and the Plaza. It's vital that the work of the Santa Fe Garden Club and our civic partners continue to preserve the rich cultural heritage of the city. We're therefore asking Santa Fe, the city of Santa Fe, to allocate $200,000 for the replacement of the existing pergola in the Amelia White. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. If you have your full statement and you want to leave it with the city manager, we can distribute it subsequently. Thank you. Please, you have the floor.
The time gonna start when I start?
As soon as you start.
Hi, my name's Nick Hill, and I'm a proud member of the Santa Fe Democratic Socialists. So I've spoken here before for several weeks now about the growing movement around the country for a ceasefire in Gaza, and the urgency for the city council to pass a resolution expressing in some form support for this effort. But what I want to talk about today is that this movement is growing not just in the US, but in Israel itself. Last week, tens of thousands of Israelis, that's a large number in a country as small as Israel, marched against the incumbent government, demanding an end to the current war and a deal that can secure the release of hostages in exchange for a lasting ceasefire. I have personally spoken within Israel that advocates for an end to the war and an end to the occupation. Now, here in the US, we hold immense power over this conflict through the weapons that our government keeps pumping in. But we fortunately do have freedoms around this issue. Many members of the city council may face political backlash for taking a stand on this issue, and certainly many of us might face social backlash. But in Israel, to oppose the war in the current form, you're risking your freedom and your lives. There's been multiple people so far who face years in prison for refusing to enlist in the ongoing draft for the invasion of Gaza. And if you live in the occupied West Bank and you're a Palestinian, your freedoms are even narrower. My great-grandfather in 1975 was imprisoned under a dictatorial regime for advocating for democracy and civil rights. And if countless Jewish, Israeli, and Palestinian people are willing to risk so much, I think we have a responsibility to do what we can.
Thank you.
Mayor, Council, my name is Adam Fulton Johnson. I'm here today
as a citizen and also as a candidate for County Commission in District 4, not in my professional capacity, not speaking on behalf of that organization. I simply want to echo what my very good friend Teresa Davis, Dr. Teresa Davis said, and my friend Nikhil about the ceasefire. It is imperative that we are leaders in advocating for peace. Conflicts and war are the implications of war and spreading authoritarianism across a region is extremely troubling to me. And I want to echo their statements. They are much more articulate. They're much better studied on these issues, but I wanted to lend my support as someone who is a public facing individual who cares about peace, about diplomacy, and about resolution. And I think that the Santa Fe City Council could show leadership in this capacity. Thank you.
Thank you. Others come forward now if you're in the room and want to take the opportunity.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. Nicoletta Monroe, District 1. I'm speaking regarding a topic I care about. There are several topics that I've brought up. I've discussed the lights issue, the new light emitting diode lights, which I feel we should reduce in Kelvin slightly so that we can be in compliance with the dark sky ordinance. And I've spoken also about other topics. And tonight I'm going to choose a different topic to speak about, and that is college. And please forgive me if I seem that I don't know some of the facts here or that I ask questions. I'm at study. The topic, as I said before, that I wish to speak upon is the College of Santa Fe. The college represents identity, community, and stability for our town. Its closure presents a loss that is immeasurable from the political, societal, and economic impact caused from an empty campus. College is friendship, character, and critical thinking. At its highest level, teaches us to argue in a reasoned manner. This council is arguing issues at every meeting that affect our lives. Is it fair to sacrifice the college for housing? The College of Santa Fe may be closed, yet people are attending college in Santa Fe at other campuses, meaning there is demand for college here. It is confounding that there is no UNM building in our town when there is so much interest in getting a basic bachelor degree and pursuing graduate school at an affordable school. What if someone closed your alma mater? It is an offense to people who graduated from the college that it is in such a state of disrepair. There are 3 line items in the packet for budget allocations to the campus. Item 9Q, page 24 and 27, the North Central New Mexico Economic Development District. Could these funds be allocated to rebuild the infrastructure at the college? Is there an opportunity for a partnership to create a campus that has early college at the secondary school level for students who could graduate into college? Could we partner with the University of New Mexico so that there is a shared campus? Our community needs college so that we mature to be productive citizens. We have heard about the idea of housing, yet is that the best idea for the campus?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. If you want to leave your statement with the city manager, it'd be perfectly appropriate. Thank you very much. Madam Clerk, do we have people in the Zoom room waiting to speak?
Yes, Mayor, there's one hand raised in the Zoom room, and that's Stephanie Benenato.
Very good. Let's recognize her for an opportunity to speak on petitions from the floor.
Stephanie Benenato, can you hear me?
A little bit, if you could be a little clearer or closer to the mic, it would help.
Okay, so I'm now really close to the mic. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So I'm glad you brought up health, because the city pools are still not really operating correctly. Seniors and people who are disabled who need, temperatures at 83 degrees, they never quite get there. And yet, not that long ago, that happened. And, I know that in terms of the budget in recreation, there's, I believe, about 30 lifeguard supervisors in total, but 10 are lifeguard supervisors. So you have one supervisor per 2 lifeguards. Seems a little bit top heavy. And again, if you have 30 people, why can't you staff at least 2 pools, if not 3 pools? Also for the library, I would really ask that you give something in the budget for hybrid presentations at all the presentations that the libraries do across the city, so that anybody can attend, even if they can't physically get to the library, or it's such a great presentation that there's not enough room. The other thing is the Zozobra. I am kind of unhappy that the city is spending money on a balloon, on this monument, whatever you want to call it, and now on allowing the Kiwanis to use the city seal. I think that's just really inappropriate. And we will be having a figure that is an anxiety, means anxiety. So we're going to have all this anxiety over there. And I heard something about it being part of a national park. So I'm wondering if you can even do it without the right agreements. And also Zozobra for me is always anxiety producing because of all the people screaming, burn him. And because a friend of mine was raped on the first Zozobra that I attended. So it's not always just happy for people, I have to say. And one last thing is my ethics complaint. I have shown you all that the city attorney has no stated role in determining whether the ethics complaints that I have filed should go forward. This should be the ethics board. And I'm asking that you direct that the ethics board gets these complaints so that they can review them as the ordinance states that it's their purview to do. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Are there others who want to speak who are in the room now and have been waiting your turn? All good? Madam Clerk, anybody else in the Zoom room with a hand up?
No, Mayor, there are no other hands raised in the Zoom room.
Okay, in that case, I believe, Madam Clerk, I'm correct in saying that completes our agenda for tonight. And thank you, everybody, for your being here, and we are adjourned.